Tonight is going to be important, and like I said, we're going to be doing something different tonight because tonight we're going to be paying some homage, and we're also going to be dedicating this show to all of the lost souls and those who have lost their souls. One of the things that I want to do is I want to bring your attention, and I want to take you back to a time period. I want to take you back to a time period that starts out in the early 1900s. This is what we're going to be dedicating this show tonight. We're going to be dedicating this show to all of the lost souls and to those who've lost their souls. The time period is 1921. The universe at this particular time is seeking justice for unjust acts of pure hatred. This is the frequency that's on the planet at the time. A lot of us are feeling this pull, this strong pulling that's really reminding us that we need to get a new story. And if that is you, you definitely want to listen up because you'll be able to see your connection. In fact, anyone listening is going to be able to see their connection, and it doesn't matter when you listen, you're going to see your connection. So I want to bring your attention back to 1921. 1921, you guys. Black Wall Street. How many of you are familiar with Black Wall Street? 1921. The bombing of a lot of souls got interrupted on that day. There was a lot of fire activity, a lot of energy that was going on the planet in 1921. Because this day interrupted a lot of souls. A lot of souls were interrupted. I want to take you to a place, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Greenwood is what we're going to be talking about tonight. This show tonight is dedicated to all of those lost souls. All of those lost souls. And all of those have lost their soul. So now, here's what I want you guys to do. Normally, I would say, get up, let's dance, let's move around. But I want you to really just kind of sit with what I just gave you tonight and know that this is the direction that we're going to be moving into, that we're going to be talking about, this history here tonight. So before we actually get ready to get into the song, let me tell you guys about Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood. Greenwood was a place that was started by African Americans, by brothers and sisters. In fact, the founder who purchased the land out of Greenwood first came on board. He was actually born, and this is interesting, he was born in Alabama. He was actually born in the same birthplace my father was born. Of course, not at the same time, but that's interesting. But he was born in Alabama. He was born in Alabama, and then he left. He left Alabama and he went to Oklahoma. I'm going to have to slow down for just a minute, you guys, because my thoughts are racing all over the place. And my thoughts are racing all over the place, and I want to make sure that I can pull all of this up for you guys and be able to give you this information and get it to you here. So I'm going to take my time, and I want you guys to take your time, because we have some important things that we're going to be covering here tonight, and this is what we're going to be talking about. And even when Brother Blau comes on as well, he's going to be talking about it. We're going to be going into this energy and really lifting up this energy and bringing this energy down. The founder who purchased this land, is O.W. Garley. O.W. Garley. So somewhere around 1906, he actually moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he purchased land, this was something that was kind of unheard of at the particular time. But he purchased 40 acres of land. So when we start to talk about 40 acres and a mule, he purchased 40 acres of land. He purchased this land here, but he had a vision. He had a vision. And that vision was to create a space that would forever last when it came to us culturally as people, and really to put the planet for wealth and abundance on this earth for all to come. So we had a vision. Now, one of the first businesses that he purchased was a rooming house. And this rooming house, there was a road that ran near this rooming house, and so the road was given the name Greenwood Avenue. And that was actually named for a city that was in Mississippi somewhere. So what happened is, after time, he began to build two-story buildings, some more. He purchased some more land, and he ended up buying, another 80 acres of land. So he continued to build this place up. And more brothers and sisters began to come to this place. It was a group of them. It was a whole crew of gentlemen that got together. And I know many of you watched a lot of the stories, and this is going to be so funny to you guys, but many of you watched the stories when they talked about how America was built. And they showed the Rockefellers and the Kennedys. You remember that series that came out? I think it was called something like How America Was Built, or something about America. Well, these were the real brothers who built America. And they built it so well, so very well, that this Black Wall Street was not just built out of necessity. They were visionaries. And the name of the series was The Building of America. And yes, it was on the History Channel. But let me tell you about the building of America and really where these true men who built America was. These men and women, because it was women too, was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They were building America. They had hospitals. They had schools. They had libraries. They had businesses of all kinds. They had churches, houses, farms. It was self-sustaining. They had transportation. And not only did they build this, but they did it with a touch of class that sent ripples through the universe. This was very, very divine. The vision of these men, when they sat down and they began to think about their blueprint, their divine blueprint of what they wanted, was something that was never seen. In fact, they even had a place, and y'all gonna trip out on this. They even had a place for them to go to get their visions. Now, a lot of this information you can find online, and a lot of it I channeled. But I promise you, you'll be able to go back and do your own research, and you'll see about the men who really built America and where that divine blueprint came in from. The place that they used to go, men and women, to take their vision was a building, and this building was called Dreamland. Dreamland was the movie theater that they had. The movie theater opened as early as 1906. Now, they wasn't always playing movies in there. This would be the meeting place where they would go to get their vision. Now, we know how powerful movies are because Brother Panic always comes on and he really kind of got all of us to understand about movies and visions. These men would go into this building called Dreamland, and they would captivate their visions for what was to come of this particular area, this particular place. Now, some of you may say, well, why Oklahoma? Of all the places, why Oklahoma? Now, we can look at some things and we can look at what was going on in America. We can look at what was going on in the world back during the early 1900s, and we could kind of understand why they would go there. But also, let me just kind of give you some more spiritual reasons why they would go to this particular place. The landmass of Oklahoma carries a very unique and divine energy. We know that a lot of our Native American brothers and sisters have a lot of different energy there, and that's considered to be a sacred place. In fact, that is also where the Trail of Tears was formed, and also what they call, I believe it is, the Divine Five, the 5 Native American tribes that existed in that particular area in Oklahoma. So we know that this was very, very sacred ground. There's also mounds that take you back there. But I also want to give you another indication of why this particular area was very, very important. 2 things. Almost about 30 years before they found any kind of physical evidence in ancient Egypt or Kemet about Nefertiti and Akhenaten, they found a stela that existed in Oklahoma. So you have to ask yourself, well, how would some information from ancient Kemet get all the way in Oklahoma? That's interesting. Now, here's the other fact as well, too, is that there is a cave of sort that exists there. We can call it that. And inside is Anubis as well as a bull, which is represented as Osiris. And they found this information. And on the spring, I think it's the spring and the summer equinox, when the sun comes shining in, much like a lot of the mounds and temples that are there in Mexico, this information is also in Oklahoma. If you pick up the book, and I believe it's called 2000 by Richard Nunn, Ice. It's called Ice, by Richard Nunn, and he spells his name, Richard, of course, Noone. He talks about this in the book. So there's evidence of Anubis and also Osiris existing in Oklahoma. Lots of powerful energy there. So when we start to look at sacred grounds, we definitely do not want to dismiss anywhere there was a large amount of where our ancestors were from. Because anywhere we were as people is a sacred ground. And I want you guys to remember that, because a lot of times we shun on the South. We turn our nose up at these places where our ancestors were, and thinking that this is somewhere we need to move our energy away from. Know that if we could exist there, and if it was at least more than one or two of us there, it is sacred ground. We cannot exist anywhere that is not sacred. So I want to take you guys back to Wall Street. And I want to take you back to the amazing brothers and sisters, because they were all visionary. All of them. Absolutely every single one of them. They were all seers. They all had visions, and very powerful visions. In fact, their visions are part of the divine blueprint that built what we now call America. So we know they used our ancient knowledge. A lot of that they couldn't decipher right. Still can't. But they also used the information out of Black Wall Street. In fact, you can see the correlation when you start to look at Wall Street, and when you go back and you start to look at the city of Alexandria, how they went in and they burnt down the libraries. They did the same exact thing in Black Wall Street. Interesting. Isn't that interesting? How we can look at our history, and we can look at things and how the pieces move, and how history repeats itself. That's what they did. One of the very first buildings that they went to go attack was Dreamland. So ask yourself, you're coming to take over Wall Street. You want to burn down this city. You go to the movie theater first. Don't worry, we will tell this story, because the story has got to get. The story will get told. So no worries. We're gonna take the story out. So yeah, the story is gonna come out. So now, just spirit is just kind of coming through, and that's always a good thing too. But we're gonna talk about this. Continue to talk about this story. I want you guys to get a vast understanding about how big Black Wall Street was. Black Wall Street consisted of so much power. You understand what I'm saying? Talk about living in a world of your own. We're going to get this story out because this is tied to your inheritance. And I'm going to tell you exactly what this is, because this message has got a little kind of misconstrued over the years, and there's a lot of talk. There was a lot of talk about retribution, and I'm really going to let you guys know how this energy is tied into your inheritance and how you can tap into this energy tonight. That's what this is all about, and the interest. So the 40 acres and a mule is really where the message got a little distorted. But we're going to tell you how you can get your 40 acres with your mule and your interests. All of this together tonight. So now, this was a place where there were some of the best doctors in the country. Things like the Mayo Clinic, all of these things that we know today got started from this place. All of these things got birthed out of here. Policies and procedures for transportation. When we start to think about the word butler, a lot of people had problems with that. You would always see these movies and you'd see this black guy dressed up, driving Miss Daisy or doing all of this. But check it out. In Black Wall Street, they had transportation services that was founded by a brother. And with this transportation services, they would come like a cab service, pick you up, open your door, address you by your name, and talk to you. They were doing this for other brothers and sisters. This was a time when they really was acting from the time that so much of us was being called from, and that was tapping into your divine purpose. It wasn't about serving anybody. It wasn't about anyone being in competition with each other. There was no competition. The brother who owned the transportation company took very much pride in everything. The brother who owned the movie theater took pride in every single person who came into Dreamland. That when they left out of Dreamland, that they had a dream. Not just through pictures that they were watching, but they had a true vision, a true purpose. This is what the records is all about. When we talk about the life records, the Akashic records, the records that have been left for us since ancient times, this is what they did. Yes, high magic. That's what this was. This was high magic. They understood it all the way down to their children. In fact, people would come from all over to study them. Doesn't this sound familiar? Isn't that what happened in Egypt, in Kemet? Didn't they come to study? They wanted to know, how the hell did y'all put this together? Now here we are thousands of years later, doing it again? So what I'm telling you is that we are truly in that divine time, that new era, the aura again, that this energy is being raised up tonight. And all of you, all of us, are going to be a part of it. So they were truly an example of what it meant to live your soul's purpose. They was a whole soul group that traveled together, every single one of them that participated in Black Wall Street and brought that energy. They were a soul group who came back to never let us forget who we were. They were brave souls. They understood that on many levels. We're no strangers to this, but we're going to keep moving and to talk about this. And this is really, really a great sign. I cannot tell you guys even more that this confirmation is really, really a great sign. I'm going to try to calm my energy down a little bit and just make sure that you guys can hear me loud and clear as we continue here tonight to talk about this amazing time that we're in. So we know the past, the present, and the future is all happening at the same time. This today is a portal where we're really, really just kind of paying I can't even talk. Um, you know, showing homage to our ancestors, those brave, those lost souls, and anyone else who's lost their soul during this time. Let me tell you about how sophisticated Black Wall Street was. Because it wasn't just the street. You know, a lot of times in history, they try to make you think that there was just this damn street of businesses and they would just have black businesses and people would come and they would shop. Oh, no, 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 no. They had 3, 4, 4-story buildings that were built. So engineers were there. They had their own airports. At the time, I think Oklahoma only had about 2 airports, and one of them was in that area, Greenwood, that was there. And they had some of the top airplanes in the country. There were millionaires there that they don't want to tell you that were millionaires at the time. So they had their own, not just transportation of taking you around the city, they had their own airport equipped with some of the best airplanes that was available at the time. They had pilots. They had a functioning airport that was good. Do y'all hear me when I'm telling y'all this? They had hospitals, some of the best doctors that was there, the best schools giving out education. They had theaters, movie theaters there. They had clubs and bars that was there. They had some of the best churches. In fact, the founder, Garley, who founded it, also was responsible for founding a part of the AME church that so many done clap their hands and stomp their feet to. He was the founder of that. This was a modern day ancient Kemet. A modern day ancient Kemet. Everything that was happened at that time. I don't know what that was. It's all kinds of stuff happening. So they were giving out their own, they had holistic doctors there. Y'all, they had surgeons there, architectures, engineers that was there, city workers that was there. Oh my goodness. They had their own airport. Their own airport with airplanes. Real history, you guys. This is real. This was actually real. These visionaries. Talk about soul planes. They had soul planes. And their houses had some of the finest things that existed on the planet. In fact, what happened is when they came to study, because they wanted to know why in the heck are these black folks not trying to come over here and fool with us? They living a little too well over there in Greenwood. They are having too much fun on Black Wall Street. Just about every single person worked, lived, slept, congregated, and did everything in their own community. But there was an incident with one of their soul group members who actually took a job working on the other side of the railroad tracks where blacks were still treated as lower class citizens. And he was shining shoes. Now, I'm going to tell you what history tells you, but I'm going to tell you the real channel of what Spirit told me what happened. So one day he was shining shoes. and there was an incident that happened. They accused him, his name was Dick, of assaulting a little white girl. So they put him in jail. They put him in jail. Of course. You mess with Becky, you go to jail. And that's still the case to some degree now in a lot of places. So the consciousness and vibration on this planet has not risen everywhere. A lot of places, but not everywhere. You mess with Becky, your ass go to jail. So they put Dick in jail. But let me tell you the difference. Well, I shouldn't say different. That's not going to come out nice. But let me tell you about them brothers back there with a vision. They were warriors. They were warriors. You know, they was dressed up day to day, and, you know, they was doing their business and handling their business in some of the finest ways. In fact, their houses had chandeliers and crystals and some of the finest things in their home. They took pride because they were operating from a soul level. You understand? They were operating from a soul level. This is why it's important for you to understand about your Akashic records. It's important for you to be in alignment with your soul. Because when you're operating from a soul level, you carry a different level of awareness with you. Your awareness is completely different. Now, they said the reason that they locked Dick up was because Dick was messing with Becky. So they had lawyers. Some of the best lawyers in the country was in this area. So they went to go see what was going on because this is one of their people. So they went and said, hey, check it out. You know, you guys got Dick, and we need you to let Dick go because you have Dick for absolutely no reason of why you're locking him up. But let me tell you what Spirit told me. They locked Dick up because they wanted Dick to tell them how they was doing all that shit they was doing over there in Wall Street. In fact, they had accumulated so much wealth that Gardley, who started it, was a multi-millionaire. I'm not talking about by today's standards. I'm talking about back then. So y'all always like to jump on the brothers and sisters who tell us about the power, the most powerful dollar is the dollar that can be in the hands of somebody black. But I think you may want to open your ears to him because they were self-contained. Do you understand? They was doing all of their importing and exporting business. They had people sufficient in all of these areas to get anything from around the world they needed. They had the airplanes. They had everything. There was no depression for them. There was no struggling for them. None of that. It didn't exist. None of it. There was no, I'm better than you and you better than me. There was none of this backbiting that they tried to make us think that was embellished in us. They didn't have this type of mindset. They were visionary. So what happened, because they were intelligent men, and when we start to talk about intelligent, let me tell you, there's a difference between being smart and being intelligent. And I'm just here to tell you that most black men are not smart. They are intelligent. And there is a difference between being intelligent and being smart. Anybody can be smart. But to deal with the intellect is something completely different. This is what the world is trying to tap into this divine energy of the intellect. And we, as melanin people, have shown, and this is history, this is not about anybody's background or their belief, because if you know the true story, you know we all came from here. We are the most intelligent people on the planet. The most magical, the most spiritual, the most everything. So they went to go talk for Dick. Said, check it out. Don't know what y'all got going on over here, but you need to let Dick go. So when Dick got out, Dick said, hey, check it out. You know, they real jealous about what's happening over here. They said y'all got finer houses, y'all cars better, and oh brothers, sisters, don't ever get mad at your man for taking care of his car. Because these brothers took care of their shit. They took care of their wives, they took care of their children, they took care of the business, they took care of themselves, and they took care of anything that was in their possession. If it was connected to them, they took care of it. So they took care of the whole community. Again, this is what you do when you're operating from a soul level, because you understand that absolutely everything is connected to your ass anyway. So you not taking care of your home is you not taking care of you. You not taking care of your kids is you not taking care of you. You not taking care of your wife is you not taking care of you. You not taking care of your husband is you not taking care of you. You not taking care of your brother is you not taking care of you. You not taking care of your sister, you get it, is you not taking care of you. So if we wanted to see example of all is one, this was it. All was one. There was no loopholes. There was no gaps. There was no, you're part of the Joneses, so we don't fool with the Joneses. You so-and-so, so we don't connect with so-and-so. It was none of that. It was none of that. Let me stay focused. There's so much to tell you. So anyway, when they got back, they went to Dreamland. They went to Dreamland. They went to the movie theater because they let Dick out. When they got into Dreamland, they seen the vision and said, check it out. They getting ready to come for us. But again, they wasn't no punks. So they gathered their guns, because they had guns. They gathered their weapons, and they went after their asses first. Because they knew they was coming. So they met them right at the edge of their city. And when they came, they were shocked to see, whoa, these brothers ain't playing. They not just finna let us walk over here and just take this. Oh no, oh no. When they say that shit was a riot, oh, you best believe. Understand what a true riot is. See, some of this shit that we got going on ain't no real riot. No, they did a riot for real. They don't really want to tell you the numbers of how many of them got killed versus how many of us died, because they had to call in the troops. Do you understand? They had to call in the troops to come get their asses because they was tearing shit up. Tearing shit up for real. But see, there was something that the brothers and sisters inside of Greenwood, that they knew that the people coming after them, that these white boys didn't know. See, Greenwood knew the vision. They knew that they were a part of a divine soul group. And they knew that they came back and that they were soulmates. And they knew that they came together to do this work and that they were going to leave together with this work. They understood that on a higher conscious level. So when they tell you they had to bomb the place, they had to bomb it because they was hitting their ass with some shit that they couldn't even imagine, because they went inside dreamland with Dick and they got the vision and they started to prepare themselves for what was going to happen. I'm going to tell you that all of this, the same energy that happened for the what the world calls the fall of Kemet, jealousy, envy, greed, so much so that while they were fighting, they brought let me get my verbiage together. They brought trucks in to Greenwood and was stealing shit out of their houses, taking their furniture and their clothes because they understood that they had the finest of everything. They weren't concerned about that. But I wanted you to get a true depth about how deep this went. They try to make the impression that they set it on fire and they was trying to burn everything down. No, some of those fires were set on purpose because they'd rather burn it down than to give that shit to them, because they was taking all of the stuff out of their banks. They was trying to get the money. They was trying to take the shit from them, and they set the shit on fire and went to war with their asses. They stole their airplanes. You got to understand that if somebody is coming for you and they run past your ass and run in your house and grab your dishes out your kitchen, I mean, it had to have been a trip. If someone is coming for you, but they run past you and they jump in your car and start driving out of your city, you got to be thinking, oh, I know what this is about. I see what you want. I see what you really after. You want to fight me, but you in my house and you stealing my wife's jewelry. You taking my kids' toys. I see what you're doing. So I don't want you guys to be misconstrued about what history comes up when they say, oh, they bombed it. No. A lot of those fires was set by brothers and sisters to burn their shit. Because one thing that they understood, and this channel really helped to become clear to me tonight after speaking with Brother Bilal and also speaking with Brother Bobby Hemmett tonight, and that is in the Book of Law, chapter 3, it talks about the house burning down, right? But the invisible house still stands. So what does that mean? That means that Greenwood is still here. That means that all of that wealth that was in Greenwood is still here. It didn't go anywhere. It's still here. It's on the astral plane. It still exists. They want you to think that it burnt down. They want you to think that they bombed this place and they destroyed it and it can never happen again. They want you to think. In fact, it was so powerful if you go back and you study history and you follow your people. This is something Brother Ogun shared with me. He's been a guest on the remake before. All you have to do is follow and see what your people are doing and where they're going and what's happening around the world, and you're going to understand the impact. Because right after they did their little bum rush, less than 21 days later, Wall Street crashed. Wall Street crashed. Yeah. Wall Street crashed because that money, all of that influence, all of that energy, all of that power, all of that magic was there in the Black Wall Street. I want you guys to think about something. Let's think about what it would be worth. Plus interest. Let's take a look. And I know all of you accountants out there, because I've done readings for quite a few accountants out there, and all of you financial advisors that do all of this good stuff, put your thinking caps on. If we were to take what Black Wall Street was worth back at the time, which would be 92 years ago, back in 1921, what it would have accumulated, what it would be worth today. What would it be worth today? Someone said billions. Nah. I think you need to go a little bigger than billions. Billions. I would say close to over $300,000 trillion. Yeah. And that's give or take. $300 trillion. $300 trillion. This is your prosperity now that you can tap into. And that number, $300 trillion, that's not a stretch. That's just the estimate. I guarantee you. Real assets, yes. Real assets. We're talking. Yes. $300 trillion is what is left. What is still here for you. And so the universe is pulling on this energy. It is time now. This is why so many of you are feeling your soul calling you to reach out, to find your divine purpose, to start living it, to start doing it, that. So now, if you can begin to take your mind back, there were things where customers were paying $100 back then is now $1,000,000 now. These brothers and sisters was doing it. In fact, Garley and his wife and William and his wife, who was also there, who also owned the movie theater, their wives even owned properties and had buildings being built. So this wasn't just a male operation. This was a very, very divine, collective, conscious agreement that they all were living their soul's purpose. Very powerful. Very powerful. So this is why tonight, because this is the energy that is here. This is why tonight this show is dedicated to those brave souls, to all of those lost souls, and those that have lost their souls.